Hello, all my joy bringers, my joy seekers, and my joy creators. I am so excited. I am so thrilled. I can't tell you how excited I am to finally get you to meet our amazing and our incredible Keisha. Keisha McCartney, who, and I've been saying neuroscientist, but she's not. She's a neurobiologist, and that's just as good. And she is just a phenomenal lady who actually, I was just said that to her, you changed my life, right? And as we were working together, I said, I'd love to do an event, the Neuroscience of Joy. And she said, I'm in. So there you are, out of healing, this amazing partnership, friendship, loveship has grown. And what we wanted to be on the live together to unpack four sensory things, but we couldn't work that out. So what we're going to do is share three sensory hacks for more calm, more joy through this festive period when everything seems to be speeding up. And then wait to the end and we'll tell you about the neuroscience of joy, which is so going to be so super excited. Over to you, Keisha. Over to
Hi,
you.
everyone. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that amazing introduction. My name is Kasia McCartney. I'm a neurobiologist and a neurofeedback practitioner, and it's so great to be here. I love talking about neuroscience. I love talking about the brain, and a recurring theme throughout everything that I do is the fact that the brain is indeed flexible, which is what we call neuroplasticity. It can
Yes.
change. And so that in itself is empowering. And so even if we've had stressful Christmases, or stressful holidays beforehand, that doesn't necessarily need to be the case with all that we know about how we can soothe the nervous system in stressful environments. So we thought it would be a great idea just to give you some insights on some tips and tricks on calming the nervous system down when you're tempted to get overworked, overstressed, with everything that you have to do over the holidays. So the first thing we want to start with is sight. The nervous system, and specifically the brain, actually receives information and processes information through the senses. So we're going to touch on three of the senses today. The first one is sight. So creating a calming visual environment is very important. So there have been neuroscience studies that actually talk about exposure to natural senses. It can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the rest and digest portion of the nervous system, and reduce stress and promote relaxation. And actually looking at what's considered natural colors, such as greens, and blues, similar to those found in nature, has been linked to lower cortisol levels, which is actually the stress hormones within the body. And so when we're thinking about decorations, I know, blue is not necessarily a Christmas decoration, but if you want to incorporate more greens, in your home, or tones of blue, that in itself has been shown by neuroscience to really help calm the nervous system down. So that was sight. The next one that we'll go into is touch, and I know both Sharon and I have some amazing ideas on touch. It's a very powerful one, particularly because we have sensory receptors all over our skin, which is the biggest organ,
Yeah, I
and
know
so
it's fascinating. We don't
it's
think about that. We
we
just
don't think
think
about that at all.
it's a no, it's a nose and mouth, whatever. But they're all over our body, right? It's
They're all over. We
fascinating.
think about it in terms of it's just our hands, but when someone touches us, our cheeks, for example, I know we have some great ways to calm the nervous system down that Sharon's already talked about. But it's all over the skin. So it's a very, very powerful way to calm everything down. So touch activates what's called the sensory motor cortex. And research has shown that deep pressure stimulation, so for example, like a weighted blanket, can release serotonin, which is a
Mm.
feel-good hormone of the body. I know there's a lot of information out there on weighted blankets, but something that I do when I don't have access to something external is I take my hand and I just put pressure in the palm of my hand, just like that. Some people like to, how would you describe it? Make
Yeah,
a
rub,
circular movement, rub it,
yeah, we rub.
a little bit of a rub, or some people just like to hold the pressure within the palm of their hand. And that deep stimulation within itself sends information to the
How
brain.
long, Keisha?
I would just do it until you feel a difference because
Okay.
everybody's different and it
Yeah, yeah,
depends on different levels of stress, different levels of what we call
yeah.
hyperarousal. So
Mm.
just continue doing that at least for a few minutes.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And I mean, I'm always about the hugs as well. And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
we know the havening technique, and we know, because it actually 8 seconds. It's 8 seconds for the hug, which feels
Mm,
like a long time, right? And when we're on our own, we can definitely. This is such a powerful thing to do as well. Yeah. Okay, so this is
absolutely.
fascinating.
And the third and final one that we will leave you with today is movement. And we want to engage what's called the vestibular senses. So, movements such as walking and yoga. I have a particular laughter yoga that comes in mind that would be
Yeah,
amazing for
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
holiday
yeah, yeah,
season. Increases endorphin levels. So, those are
yeah.
feel-good, confident
Yeah,
hormones that are pumped through the body.
yeah,
And it stimulates what's called the vestibular system, which
yeah.
helps balance sensory input. When we think of
Oh,
when we think
wow.
of balance, we usually think about standing upright and being able to walk straight and not falling over. But the additional element of that is also balancing of
Yes,
emotional environments or, sensory input within itself. And it actually reduces what's called overstimulation.
yes.
And what that is oversensory stimulation is when we're getting too
Yeah.
many sensory inputs from different senses
Mm,
that the brain can't process it. And so we naturally start to feel very, very overwhelmed.
yeah,
So having movement incorporated in our routine, not just pushing it to the side because it's the holiday season, is really going to help with the emotional processing side of the holiday
yeah.
season.
Yeah, and I was talking about that in our last video about how, the science tells us that first thing in the morning and just before it gets dark are the two times to really be out moving in the light for just to get our
Absolutely.
circadian rhythms all nice and
Absolutely.
balanced, right? Get us not balanced, but get them, what's the word? Get them, so that we're going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, and we're
It
in
would be
a rhythm.
balance. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
we're in a rhythm,
it
right?
definitely helps with the homeostasis of the body,
Yeah,
which is how we would describe it. Absolutely. First thing in the morning and an evening walk would be amazing. It also shows, studies have shown that it regulates what's called the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis, which actually is our response to stress.
yeah,
So we handle stress so much better when there's movement involved in our daily routine.
yeah. I love that. And I remember somebody telling me that when we walk, it's actually back to our caveman days, and
Mm,
the actual principle of walking is like, oh, right, there's something happening here. There's something
absolutely.
happening. The brain switches on. Okay, we're moving, we're walking, we're walking. Is back to that
Absolutely.
primal brain, right? And so when we
And
don't walk, we don't use our brain. Is that right? We're not
absolutely.
activating it.
Absolutely. And I think the other part of it is we don't actually need to go anywhere. We can incorporate movement just sitting down. So it even includes repetitive movements of rocking side to side,
Yes,
back and forth.
yes,
Actually, that's been shown to really soothe the
yes,
nervous system.
yeah,
So I would
yeah,
definitely encourage you because sometimes, in the face of having to prepare meals or having to get the kids together or having to organize family members,
yeah,
to be able to make the time to actually go for a walk or go for a run, it can be quite difficult. I mean, there's already so much on all of our plates this holiday
yes,
season.
yes, yeah.
So to
And
be
even if
able,
it's in the loo, even if it's in between we're in
absolutely.
the loo and we're just having a wee rock,
Yeah,
we think,
absolutely.
that's what crazy people do. No, actually, that's what smart people do. That's
Yeah,
what smart people do to regulate
absolutely.
their nervous system.
And
I love it.
incorporating the hug that you
Yeah,
talked
and the
about as you're
personal touch
walking.
as well. Yeah.
So there's a way to
Beautiful,
mix it all.
Keisha. So can I ask you, what's your one thing that you are going to put? We did a wee video on the festive manifesto
Mm.
and what we would put in our festive manifesto. What's your one thing that you are definitely going to do over the festive period?
Well, I'm going back home to the Bahamas, which is where I'm from, and I'm going to
Wow.
see my family who I haven't seen in a year. And so the one thing that I'm definitely going to try my best to do is to be present in every moment.
Yes,
I think it's very, very easy to get swept away with everything that we have going
yes,
on, with all that we have to prepare for. And for some
yes,
people as well, being around their family can be quite triggering as well.
yes. We were
So it
talking
is
about that. Yes.
absolutely. So there's so many different factors to consider. And don't get me wrong, not all of my family are complete walks in the park. It's it can
I don't think
be-
anybody has a family
no,
that's a walk in the
nobody.
park. That's the beauty of families, isn't
Exactly. But the
it?
fact that I haven't been able to see them in so long, my
Yeah,
intentionality behind going home this year is to be present. And one thing that helps me do that is to incorporate meditation at the start of the
yeah.
day, meditation, prayer, just being still and
Mm, yeah.
noticing my
Tell us,
body.
do you have a good I've got loads up my sleeves because I'm like you, I love my meditation. I don't know how
Yeah.
people cope without meditating. I don't know how people manage it, right? But what's happening? What's a great brain neuroscience thing that's going on when we're meditating?
Well, I can actually give you a tip on how to meditate a bit more effectively.
Oh,
That
brilliantly.
helps the brain be a bit more present. So I'm not sure, there's so many different types of meditations out there.
Hmm,
But one of the things that's been shown to be most effective is
hmm.
actually when you focus on empty space.
Yes.
And a lot of
We just
people
did
don't.
that, the Joe Dispenza. We just did the
Yeah,
Joe Dispenza
absolutely.
meditations in the Joy Academy.
Absolutely.
And it really was like that, creating that space round about you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it?
absolutely. Focusing on the space. And in
And
terms
I
of
felt
what's
a difference. I really
absolutely
did,
in
yeah.
terms of what's going on in the brain
Mm,
during meditative states, is that
mm,
your brain goes from very, very fast brainwave activity, which is where it's very, very active,
yeah,
potentially bouncing around all over the place, to slower brainwave activity. And
yeah,
within those slower brain activities, the brain and the body can actually start to heal itself and regenerate. That's,
beautiful.
an element of meditation that I don't think we talk about as much, because
Yeah.
if the
And
body
it's,
and the brain is constantly in overdrive, constantly working,
mm,
there's no time to
mm,
essentially to repair.
mm.
Yes, we do sleep at times, but the body needs an awake state repair process as well. So I
Yeah,
think
so
that's why I
nicely
would
put.
always, always encourage meditation. It can be difficult for some people, but there are different types of meditation
Yeah, and it's
that we can
finding
all
the one
do.
that's right for you. Nobody can
Exactly.
tell you. Nobody can tell you what the best one is. That's
Hmm.
beautiful, Keisha. Thank you so much. Let us know how you felt with those tips. If they were new to you, if there's something you already practiced, be great to hear.